Okay, we are live right now. Hi, everybody. This is Johnny Wu here. I'm here at MDI. Today we have a little bit different from my weekly different shows. We have two filmmakers, independent filmmakers. One is Nick Muhlbach and the other is Lou DeNardo. Did I get your name right? DeNardo.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So they are the filmmaker who recently finished a movie called A Shadow Diamond. Am I correct?
Shattered Diamond.
Shattered Diamond. A Shattered
Yeah,
Diamond.
Shattered Diamond.
Wow. I'm so screwed up here right now. Bear with me a little bit because this is the first time we're actually using a streaming way, Zoom streaming way to YouTube. So it's the first time we're testing this out. If that doesn't work well, I blame Nick. How's that? So
That's usually how it goes.
so first of all, tell us who you guys are. What you guys do, and a little bit about yourself. Who wants to start?
I'll let Nick start.
Oh, it's on you. Oh, all right. Well, hey everybody. My name is Nick Muhlbach. I have been working within the independent scene with a lot of different people, primarily Johnny for the longest time now, and worked together on countless projects. This right here, Shattered Diamond, is the first feature that I have been able to work on my own alongside with Lou. And we're just really excited to be here.
How about you? How about you?
Hi, I'm Lou. I
Fun.
am a Shattered Diamond. Oh wait, I wrote it. I wrote a Shattered Diamond. I starred in it. Pretty much, we made this movie, and I'm so happy to be here and talking about it. So I'm excited, and yeah.
So, couple of questions here. I'm gonna start with this. First of all, for Lou, how did you come up with this idea of this movie, and why did you come up with this, this kind of topic?
Well, pretty much, Nick comes up to me and then says, "Hey, Lou, we'll make a movie." Well, I'll make a movie if you write it. So that day, I just started writing, and for the longest time, I was in a rough situation. I wanted to act. I wanted to make something, and I was working in a factory, and I didn't have all the chances to do that. And so I just started writing about how I wanted to do something, but then I never really did it. And it's a very personal story about ambition and being apathetic, and it's just trying to strive for more. That's how I really started it. And I just started from point A and just kept on going until I felt, okay, that's right.
And what was the story about anyway? I think that's probably the first thing she asked, right? About the movie story.
Yeah. Nick, of course, has the better elevator pitch for it. So,
well, I was gonna say, as the writer, I, being Lou, it's just like so many details about the movie, and I was able to somehow kind of shrink it down a little bit. So basically, the movie is about a group of friends dealing with the passing of one of their best friends. She was very close to everybody within the group. It primarily focuses on two of them who live with each other, Barclay and Alan. Lou playing Alan, Tyler Winfield as Barclay, and how they're kind of both dealing with this situation, because everything kind of all ties back to them in a way.
Anything to add to that, Lou?
Alan is also a fantastic baseball player.
Okay. So I'm actually picking on Lou right now because he said that he's very nervous. But
I am. Still am.
What was the challenge for you when you writing the script? It was hard to put the ideas into papers, or was it hard to connect all the dots, or how long it take you to do that?
I'm probably an anomaly with it because it usually takes me about a month to write a draft. But I think the hardest part is to make it seem realistic and make sense, because with the films that I make, it's just, it needs to be grounded in reality. It needs to be how would this person act in this given situation? And that is probably the hardest part for me. That's the hardest challenge. But just writing dialogue kind of flows. I just try to, I don't outline it at all. I just say, all right, here's point A. Let's get to point Z. So that's pretty much the flow.
Cool.
And
So when Nick, when you got the script from Lou, was it immediately you like it, or you had to tell him to do rewrite this part, rewrite that part, this sucks, that doesn't make sense, or how that work out?
So at the beginning, there wasn't a lot, to be quite honest, there wasn't a lot of versions of the script. We kind of liked the direction that we were going and how it was being written at first. Sure, there was a couple of things that, like, when Lou had explained to me it the first time, that kind of caught me off guard. Like the baseball fact, the reason why he brought it up so late in explaining the plot was because he dropped it out of nowhere. And it is a pivotal point because Alan doesn't challenge himself. And that's something that he could go on to do bigger things when it comes to his baseball career himself, but he chooses to stay where he's at. But I think that the biggest challenge for me was teaching script format, because we needed to kind of like go through the script, throw things where they needed to be as a way of making sure that we knew how long the script was actually going to be and stuff like that. But other than that, no, I appreciate Lou as a writer to kind of just go and do what he wants to do. And there was a couple of times where he went up to me, he's like, are you sure you want to do this, right? I'm like, well, listen, I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. And I loved the script first when I read it, and it was fantastic.
Cool. So what's the challenge when what's the next process once you get the script on your hand, Nick? What do you have to do to make it happen?
So a lot of the pre-production work was between Lou and I. I kind of taught him different things as time went on, graduating from school and the stuff that I had learned from you and all the other filmmakers that I had worked with. We kind of broke down the script, did our script breakdown sheets. More or less, I was in a pre-production class, production management style class, and the project that I was working on at the time for somebody else kind of fell through. So they weren't able to shoot theirs, or it just didn't work out, or they were going to use another semester to shoot their project, actually was what it was. So that gave an opportunity for me to ask my teacher, who was nice enough to let me use this project as a pre-production basis, because we were supposed to see the film from beginning to end in the class. She kind of let me slide in the nicest way possible when it came to utilizing what we learned in the class in order to start getting ready for the feature-length film.
Okay. So for Lou, you're the main actor in this movie project too, right?
yes.
And how was it to make it believable in the sense of people know that you're not only the writer, you're also acting it. Was the transition hard for you, or it's not that hard?
Now, knowing everything about the story, knowing everything about production, yes, it was a little bit challenging at times. I, of course, look at it now as a producer and in the editing room, and I'm like, oh my God, I could have done that differently, So I'm like, I don't know, having my hand in so many jars or whatever, it can be a challenge, but if you really just take it one step at a time, of course you're going to get it. But I don't know, I was actually an actor first, then a writer, then a producer, so that's pretty much the chain of command.
So do you have your lines all memorized, or you had to improv it on set since you know the storyline so well?
Well, there were some parts where the day of, I'm like, that wouldn't make sense. This whole entire section wouldn't make sense. So I just said, I'm going to improvise this part. But then, of course, there were those times where I'm like, what did I write down again? What's my line? And then the actors would be like, he doesn't know his lines. He wrote it. So
That can happen to everybody. So
yeah.
And for you, Nick, what's your most challenging thing in pre-production? when you put this all together before you start shooting?
Well, there's a few different challenges that always end up coming up when it comes to filmmaking. Making sure everything is ready is a primary one. I needed to make sure that I had a shot list, and it just wasn't clicking in my mind yet that I needed to make it. And that took a little while, I'm not gonna lie. Just making sure that we're ready in general. You know, the casting process was tremendous because, and we'll get to the cast in a little while, but we knew pretty much everybody right out the bat when it came to who we wanted as a potential person to act. And crew-wise, we knew who we had wanted. Just school and stuff got in the way of some people being able to participate, and we can't wait to have other people on when it comes to different projects and stuff like that. But unfortunately, you know, me as a director being prepared while handling everything else was something that I had a problem with at first, and we ended up, you know, getting everything ready, and it just magic happened.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, and you just mentioned earlier that you know all the cast. Did you still do the audition for them, or you just decided that, you know, this is your role and this is your role?
We didn't know the cast before. We did hold the auditions, but once we saw the audition, we were like, that's our person, that's our person, that's our person, right away.
Mm-hmm. And it was such, you know, from that point, we had the table read. And there was a few things that clicked when it came to the table read. One, I scheduled it on St. Patrick's Day, and everybody was completely okay with dropping whatever plans they might have had during the day in order to film with us. And what was really nice was, you know, the table read went tremendous. We were really happy with what we were seeing, but what we did, because pictures of the group of friends kind of as a thing throughout the script, Alan goes back to them and Barclay shows them off at the beginning of the script. But every single cast member was so into working with each other. We had Bre'Ana Nix, who plays Rebecca, Jenny Boswell plays Leah, Emily Bishop-Bosu plays Bianca, Nick Earl plays Harry, and Tyler Winfield plays Barclay, who's the other co-lead, with Lou, who's playing Alan. And everybody, it was like they were friends with each other for years. And they had just met that day. And the chemistry that was there was so incredible. There wasn't a single time where everybody within that six was together again throughout filming, just because certain people were in certain scenes you see throughout the movie and kind of understand that. But the group was just, everybody meshed, which was awesome. And everybody wanted to be on set with each other again.
That's always good. So for you, Lou, which scene is the most difficult one for you to film or to be in it?
What do you mean, like
Emotionally speaking, which scene was the most harder was to do?
Probably the one where Alan has to confront his past and his future at the same time. And it's one of the last scenes in the film, and just the story is Nick, being the fantastic director that he is, had me do the take over and over and over again, because I just, at the beginning, I wasn't worn down. I wasn't getting it right, you know? But once I started just getting into the mindset of just like my body and just the emotions and all that, I actually started getting it. And that was probably the hardest scene to do, because we did it so many times and it was just a big monologue. So I had to get it down as close as possible, but also I let myself improvise because I'm the writer, you know? And I'm like, Lou, you're fine. But
yeah,
getting that emotion, because when I wrote it, it didn't have any emotion. It was just, I'm going to do this, you know? And Nick said, hey, what what is a scene? Well, what is happening in the scene? And I pretty much came up with it that day or that week.
So to let you know, Lou, you're kind of like frozen at one point here once in a while.
Oh no,
So maybe because your connection is a little bit weak. Are you wired or you wired Wi-Fi?
I'm Wi-Fi.
Okay, that might be it.
Yeah, and it's a little bit
Sorry.
cold in my room.
Oh, no.
No.
So, where did you shoot the whole film?
Locally, to actually the area that we're from, Mayfield, Ohio. We had a lot of people who were very gracious. We always kind of thought when something happens on set, something amazing happens. Like our original location was very different, a little bit more spacious when it comes to the house, and the house is where a lot of the film takes place. But and I will say Lou's family was gracious enough to let us use their house. You know, our families have been absolutely incredible when it comes to this production, extremely supportive when it comes to what we're doing. Lou's family let us use their house. My family was very good when it came to catering and providing food and stuff like that. So it was just really, really nice, just bonding overall for everybody. But we filmed at Lou's house for the majority of the film. Mayfield Heights Park was willing to let us use one of their baseball fields, which was extremely nice of them. It was actually kind of interesting because we filmed one of the scenes because so the location's supposed to be a brewery where Alan and Harry work, and we weren't entirely sure how we were going to pull that off. You know, I had searched Cleveland Film Commission to see if there was a brewery. Unfortunately, all the locations weren't being used for filming at the moment. So I remembered that my high school, when I was in show choir, had a truck, and we ended up staging it like it was a loading area, and they were very nice and let us use there. So everything location-wise was within that Mayfield area. We used my house for a couple of locations here and there for some of the flashback scenes, but it was really, really awesome for the community. Even our auditions were held at my city, I guess, Highland Heights. They're the same city, it feels like, Mayfield and Highland Heights, because you cross the street and you're in Mayfield. But they let us use the community center in order to hold the live auditions. So we held live auditions, we did video auditions and stuff like that. And for the live auditions, they let us use the community center and were great when it came to that.
Okay, so I want to let everybody know, whoever watching right now, if you have any question, feel free to post right now in the chat group, because it takes about 20 to 30 seconds before we actually can see it. So the quicker you can post it up, the quicker we can have them answer. So another question would be, I think a lot of people ask this kind of question. Where did you get the funding from, and how did you pull it off?
Well, it was mainly independently funded by me, because for the longest time I was just saving for something. I was saving for a rainy day, and once this opportunity came by, I was like, okay, now I have enough that I can just pay for it myself. And it was, I always say it was about $3,000, and right, like Nick. Oh,
It's okay. No, it was probably within different areas of. We also crowdfunded as well.
No, just say super low budget.
Super low, yes.
okay, it was $5.
We also crowdfunded as well, and it was another thing when it came to the community. Johnny, you were a graceful donator as well, but I mean, I will say, you know, this whole movie wouldn't have happened without you, Johnny. So we appreciate you very much when it comes to different ways of helping me with editing and stuff like that, and equipment, and we just appreciate you very much having us on for this. But no, we crowdfunded a little bit, and that helped fill in a little bit of things here and there, costume choices and stuff like that. What's nice about a drama is, you know, and doing the photo shoot at the beginning was everybody kind of brought a few changes of clothes. So when people were asking me what I wanted them to wear, and we had described what the characters were wearing and such, they already had some form of a way of providing their own clothing and stuff like that. There was a few things here and there so we could match the work uniforms when it came to Harry and Alan. We had some custom baseball uniforms made for Lou. So there was a few things costume wise that we needed to buy ourselves, but it was really nice to have seen or have everybody come together and help us in that sense.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So I got some screenshots here, screen grabs, and behind the scenes video pictures I want to show to the people watching this. And you guys feel free to jump in and tell me what we are looking at right now.
So this is, I'll do the context of what this scene was after. There's a really funny monologue that Nick, who plays Harry, says, and this is literally right after they do that monologue. They are about to leave for the day, and Alan asked Harry to stay so we could talk to him about some personal stuff. And yeah, Lou,
So who's Nick?
Nick Earl. He is a local actor.
I mean, which one of him is
obviously.
Nick? There's two people here.
Oh, sorry. Blue shirt is Nick. Checkered is
The one
Tyler
staring at
Winfield.
us.
Yes.
All right, that makes sense. All right, let's check out the next one.
That's Tyler.
Okay.
And that's right after relationship issues, I guess. And that is a very important shot, very important scene. And that's the calm before the storm. And Tyler Winfield is a fantastic actor. He played that role very well. And it's like we were brothers on set.
That's pretty cool. How about this one?
That's Emily. She plays Bianca. And another thing, this is a lunch between her and Bree, who plays Rebecca. She's on the other side, obviously. Her picture will be coming up soon. But what's really nice, another cool location that I actually forgot to mention was local tavern Fish Bar. They were nice enough to let us use their location. It was completely empty. We had free range to do whatever we wanted, primarily just between a booth. But it was really awesome of them to be able to let us use their location. And we thank Tim again.
That's my house. That's Ben. And yeah.
And Sean Adams, a person who I know Johnny and I have worked with multiple times, came onto the project to help out with the cameras. Ben's doing sound for us. He did boom primarily. Tom Zvertnik and my brothers actually ran a lot of the other sound when it came to the wireless mics and stuff like that. It was really fun to get them involved with the project. But yeah, this is a scene. Gosh, I feel like I can't talk about the scenes without really giving away too much. But Tyler is dressed very dapperly for the occasion.
Yeah, and if you look at the refrigerator, it's just those are some of the pictures that we took on the day of.
Mhm.
And pretty much I had my fridge looking like that for how many months, you know?
Oh
geez.
gosh, 3 to 4. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So you guys shot this on a weekend base, right?
yes.
Okay.
Because I had to work at night during filming, which goes to show if there is a will, there is a way, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah,
Hey, who's that guy that's on the shot?
I don't know him.
Oh.
So that's
Wow.
Lou and Emily. Another exterior when it comes to Lou's house. And we actually had to try and shoot this scene a few times because somebody was watering their driveway the entire time when we were trying to film. And there is such thing as trying to, ask people kindly to not, when it comes to filmmaking, but we tried to be as nice as we possibly could when it came to filming locally, just because obviously, it's the springtime, summertime, everybody's outside doing their thing, things that are obviously out of your control. So
I love
this
this.
is one of the, what was it, 2 or 3 days that we had the majority of the cast together.
Yes.
We're just missing Jenny. And as you're watching the movie, you'll understand why. But exterior shot, Lou's house, Sean helping out in, behind the camera again. Great to have him there.
That's my dad's car as well.
Lou's dad's car, I was about to mention.
Is there a crack on the monitor screen?
I don't think so. I don't know what.
No, that is
was
his
up with
fingers.
that.
That's the reflection.
Okay, it looks like there's a crack.
Yeah. Oh no, that is definitely my fingers. It did look like a crack. And speaking of which, always make sure that you are just being as careful as possible, especially when
Tighten things down. That's
equipment. I'll just leave it at that. We all know why. And it's funny enough, it could have actually been that monitor right there that we're talking about. So, but that crack is not a crack. That is my hand.
Okay, it looks like a crack, so kind of weird.
This is that same day, actually, I believe, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Again, one of the few times, if I could Photoshop Jenny into the shot, I would. The whole cast and the majority of the crew together again. That cane that Tyler has, who plays Barclay, is very important, shows up throughout the entire film, and he forgets it all the time.
Yes.
But when it comes to taking pictures like this, Wayne is the best. Unfortunately, couldn't have him out that day, but I tried my hardest and finally was able to get a very nice selfie when it comes to shooting this. But it was just great to have the crew together. We were filming on a bridge for one of the scenes, and a location that we unexpectedly landed at. But
So
it worked out.
How many people is in your crew?
Learning from you guys and Keith and working with everybody, it wasn't a huge crew all the time, but it was the amount that we could get things done. It would range from like 5 to 6 people.
Okay.
And we got a question from Jack B. He said, how long from start to finish? What did the whole entire process take? Hours wise.
Hours wise. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
well, I will
man.
say the movie is not officially done yet. Still in the post-production process of things, but oh gosh, the thing is, and we're experiencing it right now when it comes to the times that we're in, is that things can come up. It's hard when it comes to getting people there on the weekends, primarily to schedule and stuff like that. So it was a process over what, like 3 to 4 months to film it.
I believe so, yeah.
And then even so, one of the flashback scenes that we had with some of our younger actors, which I think that there's a picture in there.
There is.
It took making sure, school schedules and stuff like that worked out. Took us a little while to get everybody there for that, but it's definitely a process. I know that Johnny can attest to scheduling being always fun when it comes to filmmaking. So just making sure when it comes to post-production, it's taking us as long as we want, for us to put out the best possible film that we can. With other projects that have actual deadlines and stuff like that, it takes a little bit longer. That's always the thing about editing your short film, is if you have some form of income that you can sit there and edit on your computer all the time, like an actual Hollywood editor, it's always nice. But unfortunately, moving things around and working on things, it takes some time when it comes to the post-production process, but we've actually been able to watch a version of the film.
So Jack actually have another question here. His second question would be, he doesn't know whether I missed it. It's about, was there any storyboarding done for the film? And in the future, do you think it would be beneficial to do so?
Well, this film, there was very, very minimal storyboarding. It was more of like, I kind of want this scene in it, and I kind of want this shot, and I'm just thinking of different things that I could do. And I tied that together as much as I could, and some things didn't get it in, didn't get in, and then other things just made it in, and thank God for that. And for the future, I always believed in little storyboarding because at one point I wrote I was trying to write a series, and I wrote out this beautiful outline, beautiful thing of every single episode, what was going to happen, and everything that I could have possibly wanted. But I just never finished the second episode because I already wrote it. So a local actor, Tim Hale, told me, "Oh yeah, you just like to do it all in one go." You know, I was talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, because when you have that, you have it. You know, you don't need to write it multiple times. I like to write it in a journal, write it down by hand, because I would rather do this than this. And then for the third film that I wrote, I actually did 2 journals, and then I'm typing it now. And that one was actually storyboarded in a unique way. So for me, storyboarding, if you do it creatively and in a new way to keep your mind working with it, that will be more beneficial. Of course, this is personal for me. It will be more beneficial than writing every single plot point down. So
for me, for an on-set standpoint, not when it came to writing, I did some very minimal drawings. Just kind of, we also took days to have the actors come in and work with them when it came to positioning and stuff like that, and how we were going to have the camera set up. So a couple of days in, we knew exactly where people were going to be going. It wasn't for all the days, just primarily for the beginning when we were trying to get our footing down. It was suggested to me that maybe we did that, and it was a great suggestion because we kind of saw how the camera was going to react to, I'll admit, a smaller kitchen location that's used for a few scenes. Definitely helped in that standpoint. But it was I did storyboarding drawing wise up until probably the ending, and I do think that it is beneficial in a way, to kind of just see where you're going to actually place people.
Cool. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to show more still pictures here. Let's see.
So this is actually an important picture because Johnny had asked me to test that mic out, or that lens out, and wanted pictures of it. But it was very close in and easy to get the shot that we had wanted when it came to. It was a interesting close up of Tyler as he's listening in on a conversation from the other room. So it really caused for an intimate scene, and worked out really well.
those are the younger versions of me and Jenny, and they're both from this local theater theater company called Upstage Players, and I grew up in that theater. My family owns that theater, and we were blessed to have them, and they were fantastic. Honestly, all the children in the film were just fantastic to work with. And honestly, Marco on the right and Lily is on the left, but Marco on the right looks exactly like me. He looks like he belongs. And I'm just so excited to see them and all of that. Just it all meshed together, you know. Oh,
Who's this guy?
oh,
I know,
who's this
right?
guy?
So this is actually the box truck location that I had mentioned, the interior of the truck that we had used. And again, Mayfield High School was really nice to let us use it. And it worked out well. I work in a place where I see a lot of these types of trucks. So I think that type of an experience kind of lended its way in order to make the best possible location that we could. But for the scene, it worked out really well
And
very hot.
And with the last picture, that scene, I think that scene was missing something in the original draft. And this is why I like the idea of ideas can come in at any time, because one day my boss heard me singing while I was working on a truck, and he comes up to me and then he's all like, are you going to do anything with that? And I told him about the movie, and then he gave me this beautiful speech just telling me, you got to do it, man, you got to push yourself, because you can become something that you don't want to be. And he gave me Allegories, and it was the most inspiring thing. And I just said, I got to put that in the movie. So I ended up giving Nick Earl a beautiful monologue at the end of the scene, and he did it just wonderfully. And if my boss didn't come up to me or hear me singing, then I don't think that the scene would have the same resonance with it.
It's pretty cool.
That's Bre'Ana Nix. She plays Rebecca. This was one of the last scenes that we had filmed with the cast all together. And it's a very emotional day, just for the sake of different things that are going on within the scenes that we were filming. So it wasn't that everybody really knew that it was the last time that they might see each other for a little while, depending on reshoots and stuff like that. But Bree is actually in Georgia now, working on acting, and Nick, who's actually on the other side, is in LA working on acting and stuff like that. So it's really awesome that we got to work with these people before they really blossomed in bigger markets and stuff like that.
So on the right is me.
Kind of dark.
Yeah, it's a nighttime scene. It's I don't know. It was a beautiful scene. That was a fun day, honestly. So I'm on the right and Jenny's on the left, and that is, we were really inspired by Rocketman for some scenes. It, like, is this in the imagination or not? And that's where this shot came from. Pretty much we put a light behind a couch and we lit up this scene. And yeah,
there was a lot of times on set where I did things creatively because I wanted to do them. It worked out in some ways, it did not work out at all in other ways. This was one of those things where I was like, oh man, I don't know how I thought of it, but I was like, this scene for what we're trying to do for it, and again, it's more context when it comes to the actual movie, is why don't we try something with a silhouette? So again, like I was saying with Lou, or like Lou was saying, we can play into the fantastical moments when it comes to this movie. And it was really, really cool to do something creatively like that.
It's pretty cool. Looks really nice.
Thank you.
So, are you guys currently in post-production, right?
Mhm.
And how's the experience so far is? So since you're in the post-production right now, from the beginning of the script and then to the production part and the post-production, how many times the script had changed? It's scenery or format.
It's a very good question, because I think that there's that notion that the movie that's written is different from the movie that's shot, that's different from the movie that you see in the end. And I for one will say that, yeah, it's definitely different from all three of those stages standpoints. Different lines and stuff like that maybe were added in that Lou and I had consulted on being okay, obviously, to say and stuff like that. Like I will say, when we were doing Nick's audition, he did a video for us and he had done some things within the scene. I'll start from the beginning. When it comes to this scene, it's comedic. And there were people that went too far with the comedy. There were people who didn't even read it as comedy at all. And then there was Nick's audition. And he added in these lines and quips here and there that when it came to actually shooting the scene, I was like, make sure that you say that. I remember that distinctively from what you said. And it was an inspiration as to why we obviously had picked you for the role. And even to that extent, though, the way that the restaurant scenes were written were the way that Bree and Emily auditioned with them, which were the way that they were performed. Those two absolutely delivered when it came to those monologues, but it was precise to what we had actually wanted when it came to the script.
Anything to add into that, Lou?
Pretty much. I mean, I of course should bring up the story right now. When Emily did her audition, and she of course knows this, and I tell her all the time, there's a line where she could say Leah. He probably said those to Leah too, and she just changed the line, and how she said it was just perfection. And I of course watched the audition at work, and I was jumping up and down. I was like, we found her. We found her. That was it. That's perfect. And I was just, you have to understand that what you write isn't always perfect. And when the actor finds something that's just like just right, you have to say, yes, that's good, because she started saying what I wrote, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. You have to say what you said in the audition, because that is so much better than anything that I've ever written, because
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how many, you're in the second edit right now, right? Second draft. So how is that different from the first one?
So before everything had started up, when it came to quarantining and stuff like that, Lou and I actually went through the first draft. It was primarily, I had started my own watch through just to see where I wanted to add certain things and fix certain things and where things don't work. I will say we cut down on a few scenes, trimmed the fat basically where it wasn't necessarily needed. But yeah, the watch through for us actually was basically me wanting an opinion on where we might need B-roll for a transitional shot, what kind of transitions we might want to use when it comes to shooting. My brother, Nathan Muhlbach, he's doing music for the movie. It's his first experience when it comes to doing score. So we sat down with him during that watch through and said, hey, when, and this isn't really spoilery at all, when Barclay is performing, or when Barclay is on screen, here's his theme, we want one instrument. When Bianca's on screen, we want another instrument, and they're together in the film. So when you put them together, you're creating something really nice for the ears, obviously. But it's so distinctive between the two that, hey, they're together. This is going to be what we hear. So we were kind of going over what we wanted out of certain themes or certain characters, motifs and stuff like that.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So what's next? I mean, is there any ADR need to be done, or just going to be finished on the editing? And then, or
there is ADR.
Reshoot?
No reshoots. I mean, so there's a scene where there's a scene where police lights might have needed to have been involved, and it was only upon my discovery of that light that we had used that one time that I was like, oh wow, that would have been really cool in that moment. I don't really think that we need to reshoot it, because in post-production we could add the light in as well. But that was really the only scene that I think we were discussing possibly reshooting. I think that it was kind of nice because every single thing that we needed to reshoot, Lou was in. And that was all we needed. So it wasn't like we needed to get everybody back together for something. There was just a couple of things that we weren't sure if they worked. So we had Lou and I just shoot it ourselves. Okay. But no, we do have ADR that needs to be done. Just an unfortunate thing for a lot of productions. We had ADR that needed to be done for Bree. Luckily, we were able to, I was able to watch through her and Nick's scenes before they had left out of state in order to make sure that we had gotten everything that we needed to. So it's local people, obviously, which is really nice for us when it comes to ADR. Something that obviously every single filmmaker doesn't want to do, but it happens a lot more than you would think, obviously. But no, it's primarily right now, it's going to be putting the music to it as it gets done, rewatching it over and over again. And just, like I had said before, when it comes to this movie, being that Lou and I really are the main producers of it, there's deadlines that, and Lou being the main one, there's deadlines that we want, obviously. Like we were like, oh, let's try and get it into the International Film Festival this time around. And it just didn't work out. The movie wasn't done. But, a lot of people have gone up to me and they're like, well, we obviously want to see it. We're really excited to see it. But what's nice about it is this movie can get done on our own time and we can make the best product that we want. Because I'll admit that, it's a drama. And one of the things that Lou and I had pointed out when we were watching it was, and obviously as the filmmakers behind it, we're going to go, oh, I have to watch this scene over and over again. I'm already sick of it. But we can make it as exciting as we view it as. If it's exciting to us, then it's going to be exciting to everybody else,
That's good. Any comment for that, Lou?
No. I mean, I'm not too involved in the post-production. And it's just nice to work on it with Nick and put my 2 cents in. And with those scenes where we can spruce it up, we can fix things in post, That's
good.
I mean, that's just, yeah.
So what's next after the movies all finish?
Film festivals. Film festivals, short films, and getting ready for the next one. We have a couple of scripts, Troubadour Films. That's what we're making our films under now. Originally, we weren't entirely sure how we were going to brand it, but that ended up becoming the name. And we're going to get a website and some business cards made soon to obviously show everything off. Some merchandise if you like the films. But no, it's primarily film festivals, test out, see. My big thing is giving people an opportunity to see it.
Mhm.
You know, say an actor might not have been able to make it back for the premiere or something like that, or the private screening. Hey, here's an opportunity. Go on our behalf, see the movie. We're really wanting you to. Locally, give primarily within the Cleveland area, give as many people as many opportunities as they can to see the movie. I think that is at least my big thing, because there's been so many people who have been really excited to. But yeah, and even to that point, it's just how grateful we are for having people who really want to watch the film, having the people who are involved with it, who have helped us along the way. It's just been a whole process, and we're happy to see people's excitement.
So how, since we are talking about A Shattered Diamond, so where can people find out more information about the movie? Lou, you want to answer that?
You can look at our Facebook page, Shattered Diamond. You can look at our Instagram, and I believe that's it.
Trailer.
The trailer.
Our trailer is on my YouTube channel. It's actually in the description of this video. So if you're watching right now and you want to check it out,
Scroll down the bottom.
and I mean, we've thought of different ways that we can market the film. Once we get the website going, there's different ways. We're not as active as I'd like to be when it comes to the Instagram, and I kind of got to get it rolling more when it comes to that. We make sure to obviously wish everybody a happy birthday who's involved in the production. But other than that, it hasn't been a lot of traction when it comes to that. So making sure that, you know, we're operating on a level that keeps people excited as we're going through this post-production process.
So any advice for any independent filmmakers like yourself? And, you know, you can tell them. We start with Lou first, and then we end up with Nick.
If you have an idea and you want to make it and you want to write it, just start writing. It's not some big thing. It's not what you would expect it to be. It's not slaving toward something and just making your fingers bleed. It's just, if it's coming from your heart, it's going to be great. And that's the most important part. And especially with independent film, you can write anything. You could write dramas, you could write kung fu films, you could write sci-fi, horror, all of it. And if you are thinking about writing, write it. And I just always feel bad when I see people saying, oh, I want to do this thing, then they make an Instagram page but never write it. I would rather see the product than just you saying, oh, I'm going to make the product. If you're going to do it, do it. That's the most important part.
Sweet. How about you, Nick?
Oh gosh, there's a million different pieces of advice that I could say. You know, I guess find the right person to go along this process with. I did. When it comes to making this movie, you know, and there's plenty of people who I've had that feeling with. You know, when we made Rise of Ren, working with Matt and all my friends when it came to that, you find the right people who you can make these projects with, and Johnny when it came to Parker, and working with the right people, working with people who understand you, working with people who get you. That's my big thing. And also, you know, my big thing is just kind of understand where you're at. You know, when I was younger, I tried to make my first feature film. And I was maybe like in middle school. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing yet. Build from your experiences. Make short films. Work on other people's films. I didn't make my first project that was over an hour myself, like Rise of Ren, until I was 21 years old. Now I'm 23 and we're finishing up the first feature film. So I have a lot of people who are like, you know, I really got to get my word out there. And I think that that's fantastic. But having the right amount of experience going into something like that is primarily, you know, people people say that like you can learn a lot from film school, right? And you can. But where I primarily learned the most was when I was out there on projects working with people. Because I went, oh, the 48's the perfect example of that. I worked on a team that was dysfunctional, to say the least, at the beginning. And then was like, it wasn't that I was discouraged to not do it anymore. It was, how can I do this better? And then you build your first 48, you build some short films, and eventually you get to where you're at. So just learn from experience is basically what I'm trying to get at when I keep rambling on.
It's all right. It's good to ramble. So, you know, really appreciate you guys to be here. I'm Johnny Wu here
No,
with
thank
Nick
you.
Muhlbach and Lou DeNardo. Yeah. So they are filmmakers. They have a really cool feature film that I really actually enjoyed watching the trailer. It's actually on the description bottom there. Check it out. I really thank you guys for joining us again. And again, thanks for watching us and see you guys next time, right? Bye, guys.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you.
You guys take care. Stay there.